Russia-Ukraine war, sending ammunition and soldiers to the conflict zones via bridges and railways is an inevitable need for both armies, because the loss of supply lines brings failure in the war. Since the beginning of the Russian-Ukrainian war, the Ukrainian army has successfully destroyed many railroads and bridges used by the Russian invaders as supply lines. Unable to deliver troops and ammunition to the conflict zones, the Russian army was forced to retreat from many regions. The inability of the Russian army to make shipments to the conflict areas was frequently brought to the fore by the statements made by the Russian soldiers during the winter months. The statements of the soldiers revealed the magnitude of the troubles they were experiencing. Russian soldiers were freezing to death at the front because they could not even get their winter clothes. In addition, the lack of ammunition resulted in the Russian invaders not responding to the attacks of the Ukrainian army. The first important supply line lost by the Russian invaders was the Kerch Bridge. The construction of this bridge began in 2015 on the orders of Russian leader Vladimir Putin. This date was very significant. The Russian army invaded Crimea in 2014. Immediately after the invasion, construction of the Kerch Bridge connecting Russia to Crimea began. This was Putin's preparation for the invasion of Ukraine, which he launched in February 2022. Putin was going to send troops and weapons from Russia to Crimea, and from there expand into Ukrainian territory. But in an unexpected attack, the Kerch Bridge was destroyed shortly after the start of the invasion of Ukraine. There have been many interpretations of the destruction of the Kerch Bridge. Russia claimed that the bridge was blown up by a car bomb. Another claim was that the explosion was the result of a drone attack. Another claim was that the explosion was caused by a boat passing under the bridge during the explosion. Many other allegations came to the fore, but it is not clear how the bridge was blown up. The only known fact was that the Russian army lost a very important bridge. Since the beginning of the Russian-Ukrainian war, Bakhmut has undoubtedly seen the most fighting. The Russian army also lost its supply bridges in Bakhmut. The Ukrainian army has inflicted great losses on the invaders with its attacks in recent months. These losses included supply lines. The UK Ministry of Defense made the following statement about the bridges lost by the Russian invaders in Bakhmut. In the city center, the Bakhmutka River now defines the front line. Ukrainian forces hold the west of the city and have destroyed key bridges over the river, which runs from north to the south along a 800 meters wide strip of an open space. With Ukrainian troops firing from fortified buildings to the west, this area has become a killing zone and is likely to make it extremely difficult for Wagner's forces to try to continue their frontal assault to the west. One of the bridges that the Ukrainian army occupied in Bakhmut was a bridge connecting Bakhmut and the city of Konstantinivka. The plan of the Russian army was to occupy Bakhmut, cross over this bridge to Konstantinivka, and expand into Ukrainian territory. But as a result of the Ukrainian army's offensive, the bridge collapsed along with the Russian army's plan. Kakhovka Bridge is another important bridge through which the Russian invaders transported troops and ammunition. This bridge over the Novokakhovka Dam is located in the Kherson region. This bridge, which was frequently used by the Russian invaders, was destroyed as a result of an attack by the Ukrainian army. A Ukrainian official made the following statement after the operation targeting the Kakhovka Bridge. They will try to repair the destroyed bridge, look for an alternative crossing, but they are running out of time and money. As soon as they build a new bridge, we will destroy it again. Knowing the value of supply lines in warfare, the Ukrainian army has targeted bridges, one of the most important supply lines of the Russian invaders since the beginning of the war. One of these bridges was the bridge of the Molochna River. The Russian invaders used this bridge as the main supply line to cover the deficiencies at the front. Also, an important feature of this bridge was to connect the city of Melitopol with a village in Zaporizhia. Ivan Fedorov, the mayor of Melitopol, made a statement about the bridge, which was blown up when the Russian army attacked it with HIMARS missiles. Fedorov sarcastically said that the bridge was tired, adding, "The Ukrainian armed forces are always nearby. You will run away without looking back." The Ukrainian army destroyed railroads as well as bridges used by the Russian occupiers as supply lines. One of the destroyed supply lines was the railroad in Zankoy, Crimea. Moreover, the timing of the destruction of this bridge was very significant. The timing of the Ukrainian army caused more casualties to the Russian occupiers. because the railroad was blown up while the Russian invaders were transporting Caliber cruise missiles over this railway. The Russian army, which already has an increasing ammunition problem every day, lost many important ammunition, especially Caliber missiles, as a result of this attack. The loss of the supply lines used by the Russian occupiers for the transportation of troops and ammunition means that their problems on the front line are increasing. In the face of the spring operation, in which the Ukrainian army is preparing for a counterattack, and Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov said, the attack may start at any moment. It seems that the Russian invaders will have a big problem because they have lost their supply lines. The Ukrainian army has been preparing for a counterattack for a long time. It seems that the course of the war will change after this attack, which aims to completely remove the Russian invaders from Ukrainian territory. In the face of the increasing losses of the Russian army, the Ukrainian army continues to strengthen with the support of Western and European countries. Western and European countries provided military aid to the Ukrainian army for the counterattack, called the Spring Attack. These aids will cause the attack to be even stronger. Russian leader Vladimir Putin has tried many ways to compensate for the losses he suffered at the front, but without success. The Russian people do not support Putin's inhuman practices. For this reason, Russian youth do not want to take part in the occupation of Ukraine. The Russian army, which has lost approximately 200,000 soldiers since the beginning of the war, is also having trouble finding soldiers. In addition to the problem of military personnel and ammunition, the destruction of supply lines seems to bring Russia to its end. Unlike Russia, the Ukrainian army continues to grow stronger every day. Ukrainian leader Zelensky is making history against the Russian invaders, with his people and army who believe in victory. While Putin is struggling with a series of problems that he never thought of when he started the occupation of Ukraine, the Ukrainian army has repelled Russian invaders from many occupied territories. Many of the soldiers in the occupied territories are waiting for the right moment to surrender to Ukrainian troops. The Ukrainian army is using a number of practices to integrate Russian soldiers who want to surrender into the army or free them. Thanks to the I Want to Live project, tens of thousands of Russians surrendered to the Ukrainian army. Russian soldiers who surrendered continue to explain the problems they experienced in the Russian army. These statements not only show the ruthlessness of the occupiers, but also prove that they are exhausted. Could the loss of bridges and railroads used as supply lines spell the end of the Russian army? What will Russia do in the face of a Ukrainian counterattack? Will the course of the war change after this attack? We are interested in your views. Follow us for more updates.